Hello, and thank you all for joining us tonight here at West Coast Dogman Project. I'm your host, Shane Michael Crisp, with my special guest, the one and only Donald Coleman Jr. Thank you for taking time out of your day, Rusty, for doing this. Do you want to give a brief description of yourself for the guests who haven't heard of you?
I'm Donald Coleman Jr. I have had encounter shows at Monster 911, episode 15, 1 and 2, episode 25 and 1, and Dogman Encounters Radio, episode 71, Big Conda. Dogman Encounters for Jeffrey Nodani. He didn't episode his program, so it's all over the place. You just have to look for it. And then the Supernatural channel with Eric Foster, Amanda Lawson, Dogman Stories, and I was briefly on Danielle Stedman's, and I got in a little trouble and I had to pull my episode. So I'm going to take the time to humbly and sincerely apologize for my negative actions to Vic Conda, to Jay Vault Tucker, and to Daniel Stedman. I'm truly sorry that I broke the relationship, and I hope we can move in a positive direction.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully everything, that's what we try to do in the Dogman community compared to the Bigfoot community. From what I've heard with them, there's a lot of egotistic people who think that their photos are better than others or their encounters are better than others. Dogman community, there's drama there too, and I've seen it firsthand. I personally try to stay out of it, and I just try to do what I do. And, you know, I'm enthusiastic about these creatures, and you've got 40 plus years, and the pictures I posted, I don't know what they are. It could be pareidolia. It could be dogmen. I have a lot more positive people that say they see more dogmen. And I've also posted some Sasquatch photos on my other page called West Coast Sasquatch Project. But really, I don't know what it is. And me, truthfully, I want to go have an encounter when you have these shows like Dogman Encounters that say, don't go out and see these things. You don't want to have that encounter because it can mess you up. Well, I live life on edge, and to prove to myself, I kind of want to have those encounters and just prove that these things do exist. I do believe they do, but I don't know until I actually have it. You know, that's the thing I'm trying to do myself here at West Coast. But Rusty, you know, there's a thing that I wanted to say before we get in your encounter tonight. I wanted to thank you for your service during your time in law enforcement.
Well, I appreciate it because nobody appreciated it. We were underappreciated back then. You never got a thank you from anybody. You know, you got, arrogant and rude behavior. So I appreciate you saying that.
Oh, no. And I have my brother-in-law is a detective for the police department here, and his wife's a senior officer. And the BPD and just any law enforcement, I always, when I see an officer, I go shake their hand. And that's the thing, because they're doing a service for us. It might not be fighting wars or anything like that, but they're dealing with day-to-day crime, saving people, and they don't get the recognition, especially with the way the media portrays them the last few years, that they're killers. And I mean, there's more too. There's two sides to every story. So that's another thing. So again, Rusty, thank you for your service.
Thank you for telling me. It's appreciated, really.
Yeah. And the things you've told me in the last couple of days, with your law enforcement, I believe you're allowed to talk about now because that happened, it seemed like in the late 70s, early 80s. But the stories and details that you told me, they're brief, but it blows my mind that the things you had to go through, just like any law enforcement officer.
In these small towns and under 2,000 population, when you get hired in, they'll take you to different people and they'll say, "Don't touch him, don't do anything to them." I'd go, "You're holding me to a higher standard, and they're getting by with it." And because I was real headstrong, I thought I'm going to go after them and see what the problem is and stuff like that. And of course, they would call me in the office and chew my butt over certain stupid things. I thought, I'm doing my job. And then my favorite show was My Cousin Benny. And I was like Benny was that courtroom when the judge goes, "What are you wearing?" And so I was at Hardin County courthouse in Bolivar, and I had 7 DWIs, and the judge goes, "How in the world does 2 police officers have more arrests than all the other agencies combined?" And I said, "Well, first of all, it's one officer, and that's me, and we don't have a donut shop." And boy, he had a fit over that. I mean, he wasn't laughing too much. And he said, "You better watch your words. You're being contempt of court," like that. And he said, everybody stood up. At 7, he hit the case. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Officer Donald Coleman Jr. is not properly dressed, so he is not in my courtroom. Case dismissed. And I had to get him on my own. I had to get all those people on my own. And so I was about to jump over that thing at him. And the sheriff grabbed me and threw me out in the hall. He said, "Look, we're king out there, but in here, he's the king." And he hated me with a passion.
Mhm.
I got a sock cap on, but mine was black and gold and had a little fuzzy ball on the back. It's kind of like Uncle Bug said, "That beaver hat makes him mad." And I knew that sock cap tore him. And so I could be comical about it, but you know more about me and my law enforcement than I've never told that on any other YouTube show.
That's what I was trying to say. You should write a book about it. I don't know if if you can, just because, but then again, it's been so long. I mean, the statute of limitation, whatever it's involved, I would assume. I mean, I'm not law enforcement savvy on certain words to say, but I mean, you're just not just your Dogman encounters for the last 40 years, but your law enforcement career, the things you've told me in the last 3 days, it's just blowing my mind. It's like,
well, you know more about me than anybody on YouTube.
Well, I feel honored. I really do. And that's the thing.
I decided to do that and because you can see some comedy in there in some of the stuff, but I'll tell you what, I had to go give a death notice to this woman, and she had 1 child. And I thought, well, I was 25 years old. I wasn't in any kind of relationship. I was on, living up in South Fulton on my own. And I had to go. I thought, man, what am I going to say and how I'm going to say it? And so I knocked on the door and I said, are you so-and-so like this? She goes, yes. Do you have a daughter 16 years old like that? And I said, may I come in? I need to speak to you. And so she didn't think anything of it. And I took my cap off and I said, "Ma'am, I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to tell you some bad news about your daughter." And so I said, "You need to sit down." But she wouldn't. She just stood up and looked at me. I said, "I'm so sorry your daughter was killed in a head-on car crash." She was the only one that got killed. The rest of them, because they were drunk drivers, didn't kill them. And she went through the windshield. In the 1970s model cars, I mean, it would tear your face up going through the wind. She was half out and half in and killed her instantly. And I told her that. And I said, the funeral director looked at the body and said, "You need to have a closed casket." And that's when that woman, her life drained out of her face. And she just grabbed me. And she wasn't a real big woman. I was about 185. And she grabbed me and we went to the floor. And she sobbed on me and cried for 45 minutes. I had to go 10-6, which means you're busy with that call. And I said, "Ma'am, is there anybody I can call? We'll go get anybody you ask. We'll go in the police car and get them." And she said, "No, I work full time. I come home, I take care of my daughter." And that was it. She just, like that. I said, "What about your ex-husband?" She goes, "No, he's run off with another woman." And I can't get that woman out of my mind 40 years ago. 40 years ago. I can still remember crystal clear. And that was a sad moment that, you have to. Then one other guy, I didn't tell you this. I had worked 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. and that was Saturday night, and I had to get up at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. 12-hour shift. So I'd done a couple laps around town and stuff, South Fulton. It's 4,500 population, and so I was going to the diner and to eat breakfast and stuff, and so I was just about ready to get my meal, and the guy came out and said, "Man, they're the scanners. You better call into your." So I went outside and said it was like a 1055A or B. One of them's kidnapped and one of them is suicide. And he said, so I called her. She said, he's over here, climbed up. He's about 50 feet up a tower, threatening to kill himself. And I go, on Sunday morning, and I had to go back in. I said, I got to go. I can't take my breakfast. So I went over there and I got my binoculars. I went to HQ first and looked, and there he was. So I took off with the blue lights flashing. And I got over there. I said, "You want to tell me why you're up here?" And he says, I broke up my girlfriend, and the house was right below it. He took a dive, he'd go through the roof. And I said, "You mean you're going to kill yourself over a woman?" And she goes, "Yes, you broke up with me." I said, "Sir, you're criminal trespassing right now. You're on somebody else's property and climbing their towers. That's 2 counts of criminal trespassing you're looking at." And so I went and got the chief. I said, I didn't know what to do. I said, it was too small for me to climb. I wasn't going to climb up there. And I thought, what do we do? And I went to the chief, and he drove over. "Oh, he's crazy as hell. And he won't jump like that." He said, "Just leave him alone. Don't bother him. Just let him stay up there, like an eagle in a high tree." And so I left, and, I went back, and I was ready to eat lunch. And I got a call again. And I said, "Oh, hell's fire. I can't even eat anything around here." And so Fulton City was calling us. And I said, "What's wrong now?" And the dispatch, "You better get over there quick, because the Pentecostal church is right down the street." And he was crying and squalling and screaming, and they all ran down to him. And so in Fulton City sent a fire truck over there. I thought, what are you going to do? Climb up that ladder and stuff? And I called my chief and said, "You better get over here quick." And he said, "When you get an opportunity, I've got your clearance for you to go over the Kentucky state line and go with that. If they get him in the ambulance and you're there, the doctor's going to give you a nod and you get him off that gurney like that." And so that's what happened. And a EMT went up and got him down, brought him down, put him in the ambulance. Of course, he was smiling because he had all that tension and stuff. And they're going to call the Paducah newspaper was coming in. I thought, I need to get this handled quick. And so I was waiting in there, and the doctor, he gave me that nod, and I grabbed him threw him to the floor and cuffed him. And he said, "You're under arrest, and we're going to charge you with disorderly conduct and a host of other charges." So I took him to the HQ in the chief's office, and the chief beat the crap out of him.
Wow.
I mean,
back then you can get away with that. That's what I'm saying.
Those slapsticks. I mean, he beats the crap out of him. And he said, "Take him to jail." We put him in jail, and the chief said, he brought us all back there. "You son of a bitch, you ever climb that tower again, you better jump, because we're going to all shoot you off of it." He was serious. And so he never climbed that tower again.
Wow.
I mean, I never got to eat. I had 12 hours that I was going to try to eat breakfast and lunch, and I had to give it back.
Yeah. Man. Yeah.
So, just all kind of weird stuff goes on. Oh, yeah, another one.
What's up?
Another one. Let me tell you this right quick. We were driving around. Officer Allen and I were driving around, and there's some black ladies on the porch, and a whole bunch of them on the street. We pulled up. He said, "There fixing to be a fight." I said, "How do you know?" they're gonna say the magic word. I said, which is that? Your mama, like that. And so what it was, the black girls were sleeping with the same man, when they were trying to claim territory. And one of the women said, "To here it comes, your mama," like that, and pointed at her. And I tell you what, it was all, hey, I was calling for Fulton City to help us. We had like 6 or 7 people, and there's only 2 of us. So I got Fulton City over there. We got the Billy Club. I cuffed one on the arm, on the wrist, cuffed her on the wrist, and she broke free. She was a big woman. It was like Medea she was swinging that arm like that. And I took the PR-24 and I pulled her at her ankle and got her down and got her cuffed.
Wow.
You just never know what a day's going to bring.
Well, exactly. And you were in law enforcement for a long time. And
yeah, I got 13 years in law enforcement. I got 8 years in Mississippi State Parks. I had felony cases. I actually solved a crime of breaking and entering and burglary at Golden Memorial, and I went in. I was in Savannah dating my second wife then, and so I got a call. I'd hired a ranger that had a college degree, and excuse me. And anyway, I said, "You stay there. I'll be there in about 5 hours." And he was scared of me because I had a temper on me. And he went home to mama. I said, "Where's so-and-so?" Oh, he was scared you was coming down and stuff. I thought, how the hell did something like this happen? And they got it out of the office. I said, how did they get it out of the office? What happened? How'd they get in there? And where was the park ranger at? And he was over cutting grass, so I didn't blame him, my maintenance man. And so I thought, I know they did it. And so I said, I done called the sheriff's department in Scott County. They're coming up here, and they're going to give each one of y'all a lie detector test. You know what that is? And they said, no. I said, they'll put straps around you, and they'll put these things around your fingers. You put 4 fingers, they'll put stuff around you, and they'll ask you questions. And each time it shows you're lying or deceptive, you'll get a little shock, kind of jar your memory. I said, it's like, you ever seen an electric chair? People get electrocuted. He goes, yeah. Well, this is a smaller version of it, like that. And they all got scared. I said, I need the one that broke in to come and tell me. And so the guy, he came and confessed. I said, how did you get in here? And where was my park ranger? And he said he was, down on the lake. And I said, well, how did he get in? How did you get in? It should be locked. And they got in there. I think they had a credit card and jimmied the lock and got in there. And, got the petty $125 of state money, petty cash we operated on. So I called my district manager. I said, what do you want to do? He said, I want to prosecute. So I called the sheriff's department. I said, I got a guy under arrest. I need to send a sheriff's department up here as soon as you can so you can transport Scott County Jail. And then when I went to the courthouse, I looked and they were wearing USC memorabilia. And so I thought, I remember that in Jim's closet. And I called Jim. I said, close the park, get your tail down here. And so I had the judge delay it. I said, Jim, is that all your clothing right there they're wearing? He said, every one of them. And they got the bailiff and the deputy sheriff go over there, made them take the clothes off and put every one of them in jail. So you have to, it's the details you have to look for to solve crimes, the details. And when they're wearing the clothing merchandise, and I remember it, they could afford that. I couldn't afford that.
Yeah. But that's the thing, you are very detailed, and that's the way you present every encounter of whether it's dogmen or law enforcement, you paint a picture, and you made me feel like I was there with you, like as your partner, another officer. Yeah. And it blows my mind. And Rusty, you should totally write a book on your law enforcement career. And
well, it's
dogman career
I have dyslexia, and I found out in the 10th grade I did. And she said, she said, you're going to have to remember times and dates and the event. That's what you're going to have to connect. And then she told me how to break the word down and pronounce it. And I was able to do that. And man, I was about to fail the 10th grade, and I ended up passing and graduated in 75. So they had modern studies, and the guy's name was Lord Raymer, who became later the superintendent of Dyersburg schools. And he was a real good guy. I liked him. I could learn under him. And so he was talking about law enforcement, criminal justice. And I thought about it. I said, well, I could do that, you know. And so I went to Dyersburg State and enrolled into police science. Well, the guy that was the director of police science, his name was Jack Overby, and he was from Memphis. See, I'm from Memphis. That's my hometown. And so he and I he liked me right off and stuff, because I was real quiet. I didn't say much and stuff. He called me up one day in November. He said, would you like a police job? I said, I thought it was like dispatcher, jailer or something like that. He said, yeah, I'm going to send you to Trimble. I want you to see Larry Buck Taylor. And Larry Buck Taylor swore me in. As I was 18 years old, I'm going, you mean I'm going to be a police officer now? I thought you had to wait a while. And he swore me in. I was 18 years old. And he gave me a gun and a badge. I said, well, don't I get a ride along to train me? And I did get a ride along. He trained me some, and they turned me loose. And so this guy, Ken Shipley, and I, this car came by, the Lincoln Continental. He went so close to my brand new patrol car. I said, I'm going to give him a warning. And he was the one you don't mess with. So I thought, I was going to give him a warning. So I was, please don't watch you driving and all that. Well, he started speeding. And so, I don't think I had a radar in that car. And he started speeding. I was just using the calibration on the car. He doing about 45 and a 30. And he turned on and said, look at that idiot turning on. I was running from me and ran through a four-way stop sign. He turned on his thing, and he got up to the door. I got out of the car. And time he got to the door, I was right on him. You know, I said, we got to talk about that. I said, we got to talk about this. You can't go do stuff like this. And so I said, you're under arrest. I think you been drinking. I think you're under arrest like that. And he said, like hell I am. And Ken grabbed him in the bottom. I grabbed him on top, and we all went down in the floor. And it was a struggle. And his wife came along, and he stood up. I was going to crack his head with a hickory billy stick. I reared back, and that time she shot. I actually broke her arm, not at the wrist, but in the middle of the arm. And I heard the bone snap. I go, oh shit, we're in it now. And he was going for a 45 automatic. I told Shippy, let's get the hell out of here. This is not worth dying for, you know. This little, you know. So I got in the patrol car. He came out the door, pointed that gun at me. Well, you know, state law says I could have killed him for that. He had that 45 at me, and I was hauling out.
Yeah.
And so that I went and told the chief, and who'd you get involved with? I said, so. Why the hell did you do that for? I said, well, I told him what happened. He goes, well, I gave it to Sheriff John Krebs to get it. John or Tommy was the sheriff then. I think it was John. And I get with John Krebs, and they send the Dyer County Sheriff's Department up there, 2 cars, and took him to the jail. And we had filed charges on him. And the guy came to court, at the city court in Trimble, and he was fined $500. He had a roll of $1,000 bills that thick. He just pulled out $500 bills, 100 like that. And he says, he looked at me and threatened me. He said, I'll get your little red ass, you son of a bitch. I said, I put my gun on my Barney 5. Me and old boy be ready for you.
We'll be waiting for you.
Yeah, you know, and he owned a tavern in town, and nobody would hardly go over there. I said, what? It was called the Silver Dollar Cafe, and he in downtown Trimble, and he owned it. And you know, I did that, and then I had a bunch of tests, and I could go in. You know, I worked from 4 p.m. to 7 a.m. So I had to get up and be at Dyersburg State at 8 o'clock. And so I would leave early. He let me leave, about 6 to go to Dover State. And I had gone to sleep underneath the mayor's desk where they couldn't see me. And somebody went down the track. I think the mayor did. He set this up, burned down the granary tower. And he said Officer Coleman was asleep on duty when the grain thing burned down. And I got fired over that.
Wow.
That's the way they are down there. Yeah, well, that's just the way. I got fired. Like I said, I've had 44 jobs and fired 13 times. And when somebody messes with my paycheck, and I ask them how much money we're going to get, and they tell me, and I get my paycheck, something's wrong, and I have to go to them. Oh, you get that 90 days. I said, that's not what we agreed on. Well, that's the way it's going to be. I said, you a lying motherfucker. And he said, well, you're fired. I ain't going to put up with that kind of crap. I said, good. I said, you may be king shit over here. I catch you in Hardin County, I'm going to beat your ass.
Man, you sound like you had a really eventful time in law enforcement. Not just on what you dealt with out on the road or out when you were on patrol, but even behind the scenes.
Yeah. Well, at Grand Junction, they wanted me to punch. I had to punch a time clock like a security guard. They had keys all over the city. And I asked the chief, I said, when did y'all start this? Oh, the last officer was here and he went to sleep on the job. I said, I'm not going to go sleep on the job. And I said, so I stopped the commissioner one day. I said, I don't think it's fair that I have to punch these keys because I'm the one that didn't fall asleep, but you're putting his punishment on me. I don't think that's fair. He said, well, you hired on, you'll do what we say, like that. So me and the police commissioner and the chief, we did not get along. And so anyway, one day they had some complaints on me. So they climbed the water tower way up there, and they're on top of the water tower watching me go around the keys and stuff, punching. I said, boy, I wish I'd have known they were on that water tower. I'd have greased those last 4 steps and broke a bottom to let them land in it, and stuff. And they do stupid stuff like that. And then one guy this time, the sheriff's department called me to do mutual aid. And so I went out there to Mr. Price's house, and he said his son and him got in a fight, and he set his house on fire. I said, well, how come we got to go out there? And so I went out there and said, yeah, it's lit. And I flew back, got the police commissioner, told him what's going on. What do you want to do? Do you want to go out there and put his house out? All right. He goes, yeah. And we'll leave the fire trucks. We're going code 3 out there. And I blocked the highway off to the fire trucks to get up there. And later, Delphus Hicks, the first black sheriff elected in the state of Tennessee, he was sheriff during my tenure at Grand Junction. He said, Coleman, what are you doing out here? I said, you told me to come out and see if the house is on fire. And the police commissioner wanted me to escort and come out here. He said, get in the car. I said, okay. He said, that guy is a Vietnam Ranger, Army sniper in Vietnam, highly decorated. I said, well, you know what? You just seem to mention that when you wanted me to check on the house like that. And I'm going, damnation. I got a sniper out here. Well, see, he hated Sheriff Hicks. He didn't hate me. So I was walking around. I tripped on the deal, and I knocked one of the firemen in the swimming pool. I said, Bill, this is a bad time to go swimming, just making a joke of it. But damn, you knocked me in the pool. And so they left, the fire department left, and I walked over there, and the sheriff, he took off. And I walked over there. I said, Mr. Price, I'm sorry you got in trouble with your father and y'all got in a fight and the house is on fire. I don't have any jurisdiction here. My fight's not with you. I'm not going to try to get you to come in or surrender or anything. I want you to know I'm just here because the sheriff told me to come out here and stuff. But I hope y'all can patch your relationship up. At 5 o'clock in the morning, I got off at 5 o'clock in the morning. At 6 o'clock, the fire whistle went off, and nobody went out there because he set it on fire and they just let it go. And so he told Mr. Old Man Price, the only way we're going to protect you, we're not going to come out there that's in the sheriff's department territory. And we did a mutual aid to go out there in the first place. But you have to live in town. So his son got 10 years in prison. And so he built his house in town. It's all kind, and these are sleepy little 440 people towns, and you don't believe what goes on. So this is, you know more about me, Shane, than anybody on YouTube ever has. It's
Well,
for the law.
I'm truly honored, to be honest with you, Rusty. Like I said, you're a book, and everything you've told me, I read every little bit of detail what you've sent me on Messenger, and like I say, I paint myself like I'm there inside, the like I'm your partner. I'm riding shotgun with you, and I'm truly honored, and for you to share that information, it means a lot to me. But I know we could talk about your law enforcement days for we can go on forever, and I'd love to listen to it. But
we'll get on with the Dogman encounters.
Yeah. So you've had 40 plus years of Dogman encounters. They're truly amazing, and every single bit, it's just like what you've told me about your law enforcement career. It's very detailed. You remember what they look like, the size, the time, the date. So platform's yours. Do you want to just fire away and just start with your first, or go to your most recent, or do you want to just go with the most? Would you say?
Well, we can go with the first one. It wasn't a Dogman. I call it a shadow creature. It was in Collinwood, Tennessee, zip code 38450. I remember stuff like that.
Oh, I know.
It's in Wayne County. And Tennessee. It's just right. You can go out Pinhook Road in Hardin County, and it just at the county line, and it turns into Bear Creek, and it goes all the way up to Highway 13, just a little bit south of Collinwood. But anyway, did you get me something? Anyway, what the deal was, people were coming up to us. Somebody's raiding our gardens and stealing, fruits and vegetables, and the apple fruit trees were getting picked off like that. So I called the federal park ranger in Kosciuszko and asked him to come up here, during one of my shifts. So I came on at 4 and worked till 8 o'clock the next morning, trying to solve this. And I said, it's probably some derelict or whoever coming down out of Nashville, walking the Natchez Trace, and they're just helping themselves to whatever they can forage. And unfortunately, it's these people's gardens. And I said, would you be on the lookout for you see people walking, or, some, people that look notorious or something? He goes, yeah, I'll be looking for them. And so I went on patrol, and I drove around. I didn't see anything. And that I went on double shift, but it didn't happen. And then it was August the 27th. I think it was on a Tuesday, 1981. And I worked at midnight. I was real sick, had a sour belly and everything. And I was patrolling the town. I would go real slow, go like 5, maybe 6 miles an hour. And I had both spotlights pointed downward to see if I could catch anybody breaking in somebody's house or something like that, and go real slow all over town. So I ended up going over, and if you go 13 coming in from like Wayne County, Waynesboro, come 13, and you're in town. It used to be a red light where the police department is, but I think they took that out. And I think there's a red light where the school system is. There's a red light there. If you go straight and right to the right is Rich's Amico, and there's a water tower and a little park underneath it. Go to the end of the road, turn left, and you'll run into the area that cryptid thing happened. And then before you get there, there's another road turns to the right, and it's got a horseshoe and houses all around it. So I had been over there. Hassel Hughes was a big man in Wayne County. He's multimillionaire, so we always took care of him. he was a nice guy. He really was. And anyway, I I started feeling funny. I have a strong sixth sense. I started feeling funny over there. I said, something's up over here. And I heard the limb snapping, I thought. And it sounded like, because, Sasquatch can make sounds. They can make any kind of sound you think of. And it sounded like a bush hog. I thought, who in the hell is out here at 3 something in the morning bush hogging? I was going to get a hold of them, and shut them down to at least 6 or 7. And so I walked around and I grabbed my shotgun and I had my KL light, and I walked around and shining that light, and, around the shrubbery there, and took my spotlight and went around that house and went around it to see if I could see anything moving in there. Didn't see anything. Our stomach was really griping, and I walked around. I went down to my car and went to HQ, took a break, took some medication and stuff like that. Just sat around, trying to, go to the bathroom and couldn't. And so I went back on patrol, and I kind of made a loop just around town, just about 13 South. I went around there, came back to Hassel Hughes. I said, well, I got these patent leather shoes on, and it's, part of the road's got gravel on it, and I can't sneak up on this thing or whatever it is. So I walked down the ditch line, which was full of Johnson grass, about chest high, full of Johnson grass. And I took my shotgun with me again. I still felt uneasy feeling. So I took my shotgun. I had my 357 holstered, and I had my KL light. And the time I was about 10 yards from the building. I was out in that ditch line, and I shined my light up higher, and I caught red eye shine. I go, what the heck is this? I caught red eye shine, and it went like that. I go, I don't believe I've ever heard that growl before. And I immediately went face down that Johnson grass. It's just like maybe the Lord's helping me. And I'm going down face first, and that thing was 10 yards away, and it took 2 steps. And I'm laying down, my head, down on the ground, and my head was sideways on the ground, and I heard that thing, 2 large guttural growls. And I didn't have no more constipation problems. I had a bad one, that one. And so what I did, I took the safety off the shotgun, pulled that 357 out, and cocked it like that. So that thing saw me with the gun, and they know what a gun is. And I thought, man, what do I do? Because he was too close to that edge of that house, and I didn't want to get in a full-fledged gun battle and this thing get away and, like that. So I decided not to shoot, and it turned around and walked off in the ditch line the other way. I laid down there about 10 minutes, and I crawled on my hands and knees in the shotgun, and I holstered the gun and put the KL in my utility belt, and just hands and knees to the car, because I was just really gave me a nervous breakdown. Really, I had a nervous breakdown, and the guy in the car and stuff like that. And I went in and took 2 showers. I was living with the chief at the time, but I didn't want to wake him up over something like this, And so I decided to just take all my clothes off. They didn't have a washer and dryer. You'd think a fire department have a washer and dryer, if you got smoke on your clothes and stuff. They had showers, thank goodness. So I took 2 showers, stripped down, and took 2 showers, and took soap and scrubbed all that off of there and everything, and took whatever towels I could find to dry my clothes. And I went and got if I was naked, I went and got a fire department blanket. You treat for shock victims, and I laid back down there and I broke down. I'll be honest with you, I broke down.
How old were you during your first encounter?
I had a full-blown breakdown.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't call for help. I didn't call for an ambulance. I didn't do any of that stuff because I didn't know, how to handle this. This was the first time I ever had an encounter with a cryptid. I didn't know what they were until I got on Dogman Encounters Radio with Big Conda back in, I'll take that back. Lon Streichler, I wrote in, it was February 5th, 2015. That is my writing, that's not his. He didn't believe me. He said, I don't believe your story like that. I said, well, Lon, I've listened to a lot of your stories. And I guess what? If you're Tennessee, Mississippi, you come and telling stories like that, I'd put you in jail. Because you disturbed the peace. You get everybody upset. And I said, what do you think about that? And so I said, so Lon had a researcher down there, and he said the guy's telling the truth. He's telling the truth about the episodes. And I never wrote in there with Lon about episode. I wrote that with that was in episode 25, part 1 with Lance Hightower. He's the only one that I ever told that to. And then I think Jeffrey Nodami, Dogman Encounters, got that next. And so, but they're the only two I think of that had that where I first gave it. And I met with 2 people. One of them was Sandy Nichols. I think he lived at Thompson Station, Tennessee. And he came down, and his other friend came down, and he was going to put me on his deal. And they were trying to control me. Don't say this. Don't. I said, look, wait a minute. I was there and you weren't. You're not going to tell me how to tell my story, because I'm going to tell it point blank honest. If you can't handle it, you can't handle it. And so they walled their eyes at me. I said, damnation. You see, nobody believes you. Big kind of didn't believe me. Lon Streichler didn't believe me and stuff like that. I said, why would I come on your show and tell something outlandish like that? I would never do that.
Yeah.
I was trying to be heard. And so when the next day at Hassel Used Lumber Company, after their crew went home, I went and found the tracks in white rock gravel. 20 inches. The foot size was 20 inches, 2 tracks, 20 inches, 6 inches across the tail. I looked up where that thing was. I had to step up. I got up there. I found the Bigfoot's hair. Had it in my hand. And I was thinking, I don't care for game wardens. The game wardens, I don't get along. I always get tickets from them. So now I could talk a state trooper or Shelby County deputy sheriff or Memphis police. I have a ticket. I just know what to say and how to say it. Game warden will hang your ass,
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, all right, if I tell this, what if Billy Bob and Billy Joe get out there in their shotgun and try to go hunt this thing down? They could end up getting killed, So I've covered it up, covered up the footprints, burned the little hairs, and I never talked about it until September 2017.
Wow.
And so when I was at the Wayne County Library, I went back out there and was standing where I went down. And I said, I got to get out of here. It's like when you get beat up and you go back to the scene of where it happened, you don't want to go back there, especially you got your ass kicked. So I just left. And I still have PTSD because of that today.
Rusty, you said that was your first encounter, right? So I know that it wasn't possibly a dogman. You said it was possibly a shadow person. But how old were you when that first encounter happened?
24.
24. And what year was that?
1981.
So that your first encounter was in 81 at the age of 24.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now there's a 10-year gap in encounters. I didn't have the second one till August, almost really the same day. It was in into August, so it may have been the same day, the 27th.
Wow. 10 years later, though?
10 years to the day later.
Wow.
And so
91, right?
91. I was a assistant park manager at Golden Memorial State Park. I had married my wife, moved down from Savannah, Tennessee. She had 2 children from a previous marriage, and we were going to Forest, which is the county seat of Scott County, And it's got more stuff. It's like 5 or 6 thousand people, so it's got like McDonald's and Walmart and all kind of stuff for us to go to. And we were going down, and it's a 55 zone. And I was, I was doing 55 because I didn't want to, there are deer out at that time of night grazing on the side of the road. So I was doing about 55, and it was about maybe 3 miles out, Harpinsville Road. It connects to 35, but Harpinsville Road connects to the Bentonville National Forest over in Morton, Mississippi, where the Mississippi Bigfoot group, I didn't know it at the time. I knew this later on and down the road, but that's where they go hunt Bigfoot researchers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so this thing looked like to me, it came in, I saw it, I hit on the high beams, I saw something coming. I had a good, peripheral vision. I saw it coming, and I said, "What in the hell is that?" And she looked up, and I was 6'4" right there, and I was at the top of that car. I had to look up at that thing.
What type of car were you driving, Rusty?
87 Honda Accord 4-door.
Oh wow! Being a 6'4", man, that thing, you were probably riding the ground, weren't you?
Yeah, I was guessing. I'm guessing because I was 2 feet off the ground, being in the car, in the seat, and then that up there, and I had to look up at it, and it went so fast. I got just to like 3 or 4 second, look at it, and it looked like a hyena, but the front legs were kind of like down, and the back legs. Now the front legs were up and the back legs were down.
Uh-huh.
A hyena look on his face, the big teeth and all that, dark eyes, a lion's mange on the back. Now, when I'm big, I said it was a mange, but it was a lion's mange. And so, anyway, it ran off, and I was going to stop. Did I see that? Did we just see this? It was like, did we get in the Twilight Zone or the Outer Limits, and like the TV show, the 60s?
Yeah,
and so,
I used to watch it as a kid.
The swamp people, swamp monster. I said, this must be the cut. So I looked at it, and she said, "Get your tail back in here. We got kids. Get your butt back. Don't you ever talk about it to nobody, because if you do, and the park manager, the chief of operations finds out, you're going to be out of a job, and they'll close your park down." So I never told her so.
Wow.
I didn't tell that to I told Big Conduct on 71.
Well, for your second encounter that happened in 91, you were in the Honda Civic. So at the time, you would have been 34 years old at that time. Were you alone, or were you with your wife and your kids?
I was with my wife and her 2 kids. They're in the back, and they were kind of sleeping a little bit. And that's when,
what time? What time would you say at night? Were you guys heading home?
No, we were going down. I'd say it was about 8. It was dark. It was like maybe 9 o'clock because the park closed at 8. So it was probably closer to about a little bit up to about 8:55 or something. And anyway, 8:55, 9 o'clock in that range, and it was dark, and it just, there were no street lights. I had my high beams on. It ran in front of me, and so I think it scared her so bad that she didn't want to live down there anymore. And so I told her, I said, "We'll move you back." And I said, "Christmas, we'll move you back to Savannah." She had a home up there, so we were able to do that. And I stayed in the park, and I was going to stay at the park, and she can come down on weekends when the kids are not at their daddy's or something like that for a while. And she said, "I don't want to ever come to your park again because of that animal." I said, "Well, I did. I stayed down there." And so I was walking it's the county Golden Memorial State Parks on Highway 492, out of Carthage off Mississippi Highway 35. It's about 5 miles from Walnut Grove, and it's in a community called Damascus. And then Sebastopol is down the road a little bit. That's in Scott County. So I'd go to Lee County, I'd go to Carthage or Sebastopol to buy groceries, to support the park and stuff. And we went down there. I mean, and so she moved back, and I was out on the nature trail. On the back of the nature trail, I'm the one that discovered this. Nobody else knew about it. And so I got a forestry guy out there. He says, you got the largest live lolly pine tree on any state park in Mississippi, and you got the second one in the state. Now, I don't know about you, but 85 counties, and I got the second largest live lolly pine. I said, we'll promote it as the only live lolly pine. That we had the state's only live lolly pine tree in the state parks. Let's do it that way, so people would come out. I said, let's do this positive. I don't play second fiddle to nobody. Let's just do it like this. So I started getting a lot of interest in newspaper, people coming out and taking pictures and stuff like that. So I got a pretty good interest of it. And I was walking back there one day. We had a really bad coyote problem. I used to carry a baseball bat with me because they'll attack and kill you. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, there was a bunch of them back there howling and stuff. And it just dawned on me. I was out there and I just thought about that encounter in August. And it was, this was in February of 92. And I thought about it. I thought, I don't even have a gun to protect myself. Because state parks, you can't have firearms and stuff like that. And so one day I went to the hardware store in Sebastopol, and I talked to the guy. I said, do you have any kind of weapons I can borrow and stuff like that? I've got a coyote problem. That's what I said. He let me borrow a .388. That's a big gun. That's a powerful one too. And so I went out there like Rambo at night and was shooting the hell out of the coyotes and stuff. And, I killed a couple of them. And those coyotes hear that .388, they skedaddle.
They clearly.
Yeah. And so I cleared them out, and I gave the gun back to him. And I never told anybody about it. Okay, I didn't find this information out until I left the park system in March of 92 and gave my resignation and all that stuff and, left. And before I left, because they were screwing my little park, and I uncovered a lot of stuff, and I got a group together called the Friends of Golden Memorial. I was the one that spearheaded that and got them interested. And I said, they cut trees, and they were $40,000 worth, and they hadn't spent any money on your park. What do you think about that? And boy, that made them mad as hell. The Friends, I just put TNT to the fireplace, Yeah. I said, if I were you, and they were saying, I said, my chief of operations said, that's just a roadside park. I said, I look at that little park as maybe having a daughter with Down syndrome. It's different.
Yeah.
Okay. It's different. You want to protect the difference. If you had a girl with Down syndrome, you'd be real protective of her,
Oh,
and the Down syndromes they are real sweet people. I mean, they are really sweet. You need a hug, go hug one of them.
Yeah.
You'll get one, a genuine hug. And so anyway, I told them that. I said, y'all need to form a group. And so I said, now look, I can't get involved with this. I'll give you information, but never mention my name. And so I told him about the $40,000 deal. And Aubrey Roselle, who hired me, was then director of state parks. And you need to find out how come that money wasn't used on the park it came off of. And you need to grill them. And they got a hold of 4 state legislators. And the lady goes, I know Lieutenant Brad Dye personally, and he was on it. And we got 2,000 voter registered signatures. And we had a little string band down there, and the Friends of Golden Memorial down there, and they presented. I said, you better come down here because your job might be on the line. And so Aubrey Roselle lost his job over that. And then uh, John King came in as the director. I said I'd rather have Roselle, but anyway, chief of operations was there, and my mother was there. He goes, "Who's that nice looking redhead?" I said, "That's my mother." He goes, "That's your mother?" I said, "Yeah." "You came out of her?" I said, "Believe it or not, I did." And
Well, hey,
I said,
Rusty,
"Watch
back
out,
to
the
you.
chief of operations eyeballing you."
Yeah, yeah.
But and so later I found out about list all these groups. I'm not sure where I heard it, but it may have been from Kumbo. I don't know. Uh, he's told me a bunch of stuff. That guy's super smart. So if anybody needs to be, and Jody Cook is second. And of course, people that get out there and research it, they're the ones that need to be respected because you're going out. That's like a battlefield, really. You
Oh,
don't
I
know when it's
agree.
going to erupt.
I
You
can
know.
name 5 people off the top of my hand who I know who should be on the Mount Rushmore of Dogman researchers, and they know who they are. Jody Cook's one of them. Paul
Yeah.
Chafin, another. David from Texas is another good researcher. Kirk Stokes. I mean, there's a laundry list that goes on. I mean,
Yeah.
David Leidy. He's with the NADP as well. I'm just naming researchers off the top of my head who I know are legit, but the first
Okay.
3 or 4 definitely have probably the best evidence I've seen. But going back to your second encounter, Rusty, would you say that you said it had a hyena look to it? Would you say that's like the canine variant too, since it has the hyena look to it? I
Yeah,
believe
it
in
does.
different.
It looked like that. It looked like that. See, when
Did it
I
have like an
got on
elongated
there, they
snout?
didn't have the variants listed on the YouTube. So it was later on I found that out. But
What type of?
this one will get you. Listen to this. In 1979, a bass fisherman on Lake Barclay was fishing, over there at LBL on the LBL side, and he was fishing and he saw a tent, and he was looking at the tent of fire, and here comes a big dog man. I mean, a werewolf. This was a werewolf. This was a werewolf. This thing was huge, and this lady was coming out of the tent. She was talking to her husband, kind of backing out, and that man started screaming and hollering, and like that. Watch out! Go back in the tent and everything. And the dog man just grabbed her around the neck and just yanked her head off.
Wow.
And he saw it go down. That werewolf killed both of them in less than seconds. Killed them both. He saw it. He never told a soul. And then it was like in the 70s, like 71 or 2 when it happened. And so the game was going to blame it on the bear. And
Yeah.
they are a bear in there, but not like that. And he saw it on his deathbed. He confessed it. It was the same type of dog man that I saw, but this would look more werewolf. He said it was a hyena look. Well, let me correct myself. It was a dog man. It wasn't a werewolf. Werewolves is another story.
Yeah.
That's another story. I get them mixed up sometimes, but it was the same dog man I saw in Scott County, Mississippi, in 1991.
Okay, so the one you saw in 91 was the same that murdered that couple in 71 and 72, which
No,
is LBL.
yeah, it was 79. Excuse me, 79 when the bass fisherman saw it, and it shook him up
79.
so bad that he had a nervous breakdown. I mean, the man was probably, I said, "You better get the hell out of there, buddy," because see, Lake Barkley is real shallow. It's probably less than 6 feet deep. Big as those things are, they can take off running after you.
Exactly.
So that's how I found out about that one. I go, then they're everywhere. And then when your friend Shane, not Shane, Dave from Texas, he started showing them pictures. I said, "Oh my God, this guy's so good." And he's doing it with a 4G phone. He needs to get a 5G phone. I mean, let's see what you can really see.
We've been talking. He's got an Android, and Paul's been telling him, "Hey, buddy, you got to come over to the Apple side." And right now, he's going through some stuff, but eventually, he says he's going to get an Apple. But his photos, I can see what he's posting clear as day. Some will say other things, but that's why here at West Coast, if you post something, if someone laughs or says it's pareidolia, I just kick him, I boot him. I'm not going to debate. Me, on my personal photos, I'll debate somebody and say, "Hey, okay, if it's a tree trunk, well, let's see how it is." But I've also had Paul on my group go and ban someone because they said, "Hey, all I see is blurry photos." We don't have the time of day for that.
Yeah.
We do this for us, not them. So, but I wanted to get back to a question I had for you, Rusty. So, do you think that the dogman that killed that couple or that lady in 1979 is the same one that killed the family of 4 in 1981 or 82?
No, that was a werewolf.
That was a werewolf. Okay, because you canted back to it, you got them mixed up. You said that the one that killed him in 79 was a dogman. That looked like a hyena variant.
Yeah, that's it. Hyena lion's mane. That's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, a big one. So it could have been this. It could have been 8 foot. It could have been 7 foot. I don't know, but they're pretty good sized.
Yeah.
The one I saw, I had an eyewitness. Every eyewitness in my car told me to shut the hell up and don't ever talk about it.
But your wife saw the one with you in 91 in August, right? So
correct.
That was, maybe it was the same, maybe an offspring or the same one as the one in 79 or the one that killed the family in 81, I'm assuming. I don't know what type of variant or what type of dogman, but finding that little girl, what was it, 12 feet in the air? I mean, I have to talk to Jody about it because someone sent me some photos the other day and they said it said LBL evidence. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, the one person to go to would be Jody Cook because he's done the most investigation other than Barton Nunley and everyone else on the LBL. And I sent him the photo and he started laughing. He's like, those are my photos. But you post something online, they float around. Someone starts claiming photos and not giving credit. I know Paul Chafin's photos float all over because to me personally, he has the best I've seen and people claiming him as their own. And that's just it blows my mind. Oh, but on to your next. We're already hitting about the 1 hour mark, Rusty. Did you want to maybe jump from 91 to, let's say, the last 10 years, or is there any other ones in between from 91 to?
Let's say there was. I was working that's a park system, and I was working. I got a job at National Rocket Motor Plant at Yellow Creek in Pickwick Lake. Glenn Ray Harris, a park manager at J.P. Coleman, he got me on, and that's the one I called the line, you know what, and because he cheated me out of my pay, but he got me on there, and Officer Bill I was in the main. I started out in a little dinky guard shack on the parking lot, and they moved me to the main gate, and I was over it, and across the street was the fire department. And I think we had an ambulance there and all that. And so now I want you to understand something. When the Trail of Tears started in Waterloo, Alabama, but Waterloo, where it is now, it was way over toward Riverton out in the lake. When they pounded Pickwick Dam, it flooded it, and they moved it up the hill. So Waterloo is actually on Pickwick Lake, the little town part and everything. And so when the Indians were forced to leave this area, they call it the Exodus, but it's more like a death march. They killed a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely read a lot on it.
Yeah, and
I think it ended in Oklahoma after, I think they took, hundreds of thousands and only a few thousand made it, died of disease. And
anyway, I was trying to get back to, before I forget, I get a little skippy here.
Oh, no worries.
Chief Iuka cursed Tishomingo County. He cursed Hardin County, Tennessee. Well, the Shallow National Park, 28,000 people were wounded, killed in that battle. That's the second biggest battle in Civil War history, is Shallow. And I'm about 14 miles, and they would shoot cannons and stuff. And when they had the 100-something, 50th anniversary, they shot those cannons. I tell you what, I jumped out of my bed. I heard them crystal clear, way over here and stuff. But let's see, where was I go? Oh yeah, he cursed the land, and so I encountered some weird phenomenon where I was working at that Yellow Creek. It used to be Yellow Creek Nuclear, and they abandoned that. And now it's National Rocket Motor Plant, and building the rocket motor plants, and they were going to put them on barges and ship them to Mobile and take them around to Florida, wherever they go in Florida, or maybe put them on a truck and take it that way. I think is how they had it set up. And so Officer Bill goes, "I need to see you." He was shaking. I could hear him shaking. "Yeah, come on in, Bill. What's up?" So he came in the guard shack. I tell you what, that guy looked white, ashen. I said, "Darn, Bill, what happened? You lost your coloring." And he goes, "I seen a wolf." I said, "How big is it?" He said, "Bigger than you." I said, "Standing up?" He said, "Yeah." "You saw it bipedal?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, I didn't, And so I just said, I know, Bill, this is kind of, you got to dot it. You got to put it down and report exactly how you saw it. You and I both know they're going to throw that in the 13 garbage can, but you got to do it. Got to do your job. And I said, "Bill, why don't you just hang around out here for a while till and I said, "Where did you see it?" He said, "I saw it on a Corinth and Counts Railroad spur that comes out of the railroad, comes out of the paper mill and runs to Corinth. And this was they built the spur because all the deals, so they built the Corinth. And if you look on Mississippi Highway 25, Tishomingo County, you'll see the Corinth and Counts Railroad Overpass Bridge. Okay, and I'm going to talk about that later. So Bill stayed around, and of course, I got fired because of calling the MF. But so I had anyway. Mother and Daddy, I got a job at Aquaglass Corporation, Allentown, Tennessee, bathtub factory, acrylic department, and so I was taking Mom and Dad in my green 72 Cutlass. We were going to Iuka to look around. The spring plants and stuff are starting to get put out. This is in early March of 1995. And I was working second shift, so this is like 10 o'clock in the morning. And we were coming back. And I said, "Look, atop the hill, right above Gold Island, there's Gold Island Road. Atop that hill, and that thing was moving fast. It was on all fours. And I said, "That looks like a cow." I said, "Look over there, Dad. Look at that thing. That's moving." I said, "Doggone it." You don't want to run out in this highway with log trucks and dump trucks and cement trucks hauling tail down through there. And I sped up, and I got right in front of it, and he crossed eye to eye, but he wasn't looking at me. He crossed, and he was solid black, and it looked like, I tell you what it looked like. Leslie S. Smith from Chattanooga, Tennessee, wrote a book called Lycan Droids, Freedom Fighters, Super Soldiers. She was on Coast to Coast AM in January. That's how come I got connected to her. I bought that book. You need to read that book. I'm serious. You want to read a book? That's the one to read. But anyway,
send me a link and I'll buy it, because I've got a couple books I've got to read.
You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon. Okay. It's like $15.
Oh, that's fine by me.
That creature looked just like that one, but his mouth was
jet black.
Jet black eyes. I mean, his mouth was closed. There wasn't any fangs hanging out. It was like that. And I looked eye to eye with him, sitting up in the vehicle. So he was on all fours. So I'm guessing I sat a little lower, sitting lower in that Cutlass. And I'm saying it was probably about 6 feet on all fours.
Wow. So standing bipedal, he'd probably be.
And my mother and daddy, I had a 357 in the car with me, and Mother and Daddy, she said, "Don't you stop." I said, "I get out and shoot it." Your daddy said, "Not that one, you're not. And you go on back to the house, take us back to the house, and don't you tell anybody." So I kept silent until 2015 when I told Lon Streichler, and then I told Vic Conda, and then I think who was Lance Hightower's next. I told them about it. And I said, "Go look at that book." And that's what I saw.
Interesting. So that happened in March of 95, and you were driving your 72 Cutlass with your mom and dad. You said that wasn't too far from the battlegrounds from the Civil War. And you said
the Civil War was closer. I was talking about when they're here in the canyons where I live right now off Windy Pines Lane and Holiday Hills. So that's closer to I would have heard, you wouldn't have heard the cannons that far, but right here, I mean, it was like I was on the battlefield.
Well, yeah, but you said they also put a curse on the land, and I've noticed
Yeah,
that.
that was it. The Indians cursed the Trail of Tears all the way to Oklahoma. So wherever the Trail of Tears are, there's really no. And here's the deal. All right, they're going to build a nuclear plant. They abandoned it, and then this real estate agent told me, or told my mother. She told me, she said if they would have completed Yellow Creek nuclear plant, and if it had a 3 Mile Island meltdown, there would be for 100 miles in a 360-degree direction. I said that covers part of Memphis, Tennessee. It would be vacant. They would be like a Chernobyl.
Yeah.
You know, I said, thank God they didn't build it. And they were building a national plant, and then they have spent billions of dollars in Tishomingo County. And in 74, they built a waterway. And of course, you got to realize all that area back there was vastly desolate. I mean, there was nobody. That's where all the cryptids were. And so when they
perfect to hide and live.
When they so all the things that they spent to try to boost their Tishomingo County actually failed. That's that curse. That's that bloodline. Not bloodline, but a curse placed on anybody places a curse on you. It's active, you know, and so. And it'll stay with you until you get it broken. But well, like my mother's father is German, and he was in the Masonic order. I'm not trying to say anything bad about the Masonic order. I'm just saying when he took the oath, he placed his bloodline on the altar. And my sister was okay. She's the alpha leader. She's first. Delane, DDC. Died at 6 months. If you Google Delane, Delayne, Duke Coleman, it'll come up on. It's been put up on. You know, it's on the Wikipedia or something like that. Tells what went down. She died at 6 months because the Army captain, mother called for an Army captain to send an ambulance. He refused to do so. She walked out in a blizzard. I'm talking, you know, they got blizzards over there and stuff. And she walked out and the baby died. And so, and of course, I heard the story from Dad and Mom. I'm not going to go into that, but, and so anyway, then he died. We called him Daddy Joe. Daddy Joe died a week before I was born, January 57. And then his mother died. My grandmother died in June of 58. And so here I come. I was at her house at 6 months, and I had crawling around, which is unusual because Klinefelter babies don't do that. They're very delayed and stuff. And I was pulling on a big old stand or something. It had one of these big ashtrays. You could put like 40 cigarettes in, and that thing, and that busted me right in the head. So they had to rush me to Baptist Hospital. It's like, I mean, they were flying back then, and they got me there in time. It was the Baptist Hospital I was born in, and it was at a Bluff City Buick. Uncle Joe on Bluff City Buick, and he was the one that got everybody else in dealerships. He got my dad and my mother in the Volkswagen franchise in Dyersburg in the mid '60s. But anyway, they got me to there, and they said this boy's got double pneumonia, and my mother freaked out. I got the same initials, DDC. I lived, and she didn't.
Wow.
I consider myself the miracle baby.
Yeah, I would say so too, brother.
A miracle man. Now I'm the miracle man.
Yeah, you'd be a miracle man now. I mean, not back then you would have been a miracle baby, but but no, that's really interesting. But
anyway, I'm talking about curses. The Masonic curse, it will destroy your bloodline because they put you on the altar to all of it is the devil, and bad things happen to you.
Yeah, that's.
Dude, and here I'm born. I'm born with 2 genetic codes. You know what? I'm the one that found that. The doctor didn't know it. I got remember I told you I go for the details.
Yeah.
Remember I told you that early. Look for the details. So I I asked the Holy Spirit for help, and I got on my knees and prayed, and I got up there. 3 hours later, I hit the genetic codes. And when I hit the Klinefelter syndrome, it was in the Harrison's 8th edition medical journal. It was in 1980. So that was an old book. And this was like 2000 when I saw it. And I was still married then. And so I took my dad I went to my physical doctor, showed him the medical journal, and he had to get an endocrinologist. I want the best in the state of Tennessee, and I'll drive wherever I have to go. And so it was Harold Sachs was in Memphis, and so I went to him, and I took my dad. He said, "Well, why'd you bring me along?" I said, "Those doctors get squirrely, and they don't know which way to run." I said, "Do you want another Delane on your hands?" I said, "Do you want me to go to in death?" He goes, "Oh, no, we're going to stop that." And so I went up there, and he gave me I had to take my clothes off. He gave me a physical exam. I thought, man, if you can't tell by my body that I'm Klinefelter, you're in the wrong profession. And so he said, I said, "Is there a definitive test I can take to see if I do or don't?" He said, it's very expensive. I don't care what it costs. There's a test he called a blood karyotype test. I said, okay. And he was squirreling. I said, "Daddy, there he goes. He's squirreling." And Daddy pinned him against the wall and looked him dead in the eye. He said, "I lost a daughter to medical malpractice, and I'm not going to lose another one." And no, he scared the crap out of that doctor.
Wow.
And because my daddy was a Army sergeant drill instructor during the Korean conflict, and he went over to Munich, Germany after he got his training from Fort Benning, Georgia. He went over there, and so that's when it happened. And because my mother had a Czechoslovakian maid that spoke broken English, so she had 2 baby girls with her, And unfortunately, Delane got sick, and mother, if that Army guy would have sent that, she would still be here today.
Wow.
And so you see the bloodline, I'm talking about that Masonic curse. That's what happened to Delane. And I'm double genetic. See, I got it too.
Yeah. And that's the thing I was going to ask you. Do you believe that the curse that was put on Tishomingo County, do you think that's why there's activity? Because there's always Dogman activity, it seems like, when there's native burial grounds or if the land's cursed by natives. Do you believe that?
Well, I would say, now we're talking about the federal government has built the Tom Bigby Waterway, 74 to 85. And then they built the nuclear plant. That was back in the mid 70s, and they closed down in 84. And it's and then NASA started in 92, and they closed down in 95. They didn't, for some reason, they scrapped it. So they scrapped it. And I'm thinking that the federal government is bringing in these control dog men and Bigfoot or whatever and letting them loose so people won't be, sneaking around that's where he had guards and stuff. And we weren't armed or anything because we were a private security company. But I think that's what they did to scare off people that would see, Officer Bill saw that on the Carlton Couch Spur like that. And you can Google Elk Landing Road, Tishomingo County Highway 3. You'll see the railroad. I'll describe it to a T. You'll see that. Anyway, he crossed in front of me. I drove and I turned around. Within 2 seconds, he was 50 yards away, cloaking in a 35-foot ravine. With kudzu.
Is this when you were driving your Cutlass with your mom and your dad?
Yeah, right. I turned around a split second to see where it was going, and I saw it cloak down, going down on all four. He was on fours, but he was cloaking down. It was only 35 feet, and I thought, and Daddy said, "Don't you ever think about shooting something like that with a gun."
Holy smoke.
That's what he told me, and so I didn't. And she told me, she said, "Don't say nothing about it. They'll think you're a Looney Tune and, you're a crazy person." So I never, 2015 was the first time I talked about it.
Yeah. Man. Well, since that encounter happened in 95, did you go through a few years without your next encounter? Because it seems like you've stayed in the same area, I would say, since 95 to you had
Yeah,
another encounter in 2000, right?
I was at Allenville at the acrylic plant. This guy named Jack.
Uh-huh.
He's stressed the truth a lot, so I kind of wondered about it. I said, guy had a Bible. I said, here's a Bible. Put your hand on it. And are you telling the truth? 100%. He goes, yeah. I said, let me hear the story. He was driving around, Shiloh, and he was driving 142 connects Selmer to Shiloh Park. And he broke down. There's Owl Creek, Snake Creek, and all that. And they were grown up back then. They're cleared out now, but they were grown up. He drove his little, like a S10 or something like that, drove it, and it broke down. And it's about 9 o'clock at night. He was going to walk down to the convenience store and call for help. He said this thing came out of the creek bed, was growling at him, and, really just, and he scared him. He took off running. Well, it pursued him, and Jack barely got into that truck, locked it, and the thing was shaking his truck, and he just went down there and hid, and he didn't get out of there noon the next day. He was terrified. I could see it in his face. I could see the face. When you see it, you'll know it.
That was in 95, right? Bill saw it?
Huh?
Was that the one Bill saw in 95?
No, that was another one.
Oh, that was a different one. Okay. I thought.
So anyway, this researcher named BW from Lon Stryker contacted me, and I told him about that, and he said he's researched the whole area. Now he's got 40 years boots on the ground. I'm just telling what I observed where I was at the time or heard it. So I don't really have 40 years experience. I just have 40, like first one, 10 years, like maybe 3 years. And now they're coming more frequently.
Yeah. Speaking of that, since we're already at like the 1 hour, 22-minute mark, do you want to jump up to the more current ones that have happened within the last 5 to 10 years?
No, there's still some I need to talk about.
Okay. The platform's yours, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, and anyway, and I got divorced in 2006, and I was coming back from Walmart, and it's broad daylight.
So this is 2006,
right? I was on 128. There's a Sandhill Holiness Church, and you go down, and some guy had built a duck pond. That, because it looks totally different now. And so they put guardrails up. They weren't up there then. And the guy had a little street light over by his pond. I said, "Oh," and he didn't build the pond too big. I was wondering, where'd you build that? It must have been a minnow pond or something like that. And so, this deer is about a 10-pointer. He was flying. I said, golly day. He jumped over that pond too. And right behind him was a Dogman in full throttle. I slammed on my brakes. It was the same Dogman I saw in 95.
Wow, I said, man, you're talking 11 years later, huh? So that
11 years later, broad daylight, 95, and I was the only car that saw it. I go, why am I always the only one on the road?
11 years later, wow. Same exact one.
I think the government let go of all these cryptids when they're building a waterway and all that to keep people off the property. Because you imagine if you've seen a 10-foot, 14-foot Dogman or werewolf standing up, he wouldn't run like crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, that was in 2006. And Scott and I used to like to go up to LBL, and we would boat from his Bruton Branch. We'd boat through the Pickwick Dam and go up to Grand Rivers, Kentucky, and we'd gas up at Green Turtle Bay and go to LBL and stuff like that. And so nobody said anything. It's this, like that. But I heard the stories from everybody else, but everybody up here don't say a thing. They never say a word. I just don't not to ask anything and stuff and I see people hiking, and they said, well, we never see anything what these people seeing these beasts. We've never seen them. We've been out there, they're recorded and said, we never see anything. And then I think, let's see, who went out there? I think, Elijah Henderson went out to his daddy and they were camping at LBL, and they said they could hear the screams and hear something
Wow.
trailing them.
Uh-huh.
Hear something trailing them.
Elijah
And
Henderson's another good one. He's a great researcher.
yeah, he's the one that got Roger. Or Roger contacted him. I actually talked to Roger, and I was thinking, it sounded believable. And I thought
he tells a great story. He's a good storyteller.
This would bother me. Now, Dogman, what did they do was it a sin? Now, Kumbo says it was like too much perfume and cologne that got them up there. I don't know. And Roger said, no, that wasn't it. They're not. They're like Mennonites. They don't do stuff like that. That's what he said. And I said, well, how'd you get away? I hung up on the wheel well. I said, I didn't realize that much room under the deal. That's what he said. I'm not disputing him at all. That's just what he told me. I got to thinking about it. I said a 410 won't knock a Dogman down.
Yeah.
And he said he got back up, and but it wasn't a Dogman, it was a werewolf.
That's where I've got this.
I heard it's werewolf.
Two different things. Yeah.
I heard werewolf, and so werewolves got a good sense of smell. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if this was a wild werewolf that's always been out wild, or if this was a government control. So I don't know what it was. How did he get away and the rest of them got slaughtered? And I said, well, how did they get away with this? And he said, well, since they were really off the grid and they weren't like on the grid and had, family members and stuff, they buried them in cemeteries in LBL. Right then, they came in and buried them. In other words, that was like it never happened. And Roger says, well, they never threatened me, to not tell anybody. I said, maybe they did. I don't know. I wasn't there. Seems that you were, and like that. And but no one, like the Census Bureau, I'm skipping around a bit. Just hang in there.
Yeah.
I was the Census enumerator in 2010, and they were asking questions. I stood up in class. I said, well, wait a minute. Some of these questions, why do you need to ask these personal questions? Just that's how is that equal to counting head? He said, you want a job? I said, yes, sir. Sit down and shut up. I stood up again. What about First Amendment, freedom of speech? He said, sit down. Are you fired? I said, you son of a bitch, And he went to the same church that my ex-father-in-law goes to. And I'm wondering if I was getting leaned on behind the scenes,
Yeah.
But anyway, I went out and enumerated, and I got trained, and I got FBI, TBI on file, and I have TBI on file from 1981 from Law Enforcement Academy. So anyway, this lady I went to, and she said, well, I really don't want to fill this out. I said, ma'am, first of all, this is not me asking. This is the federal government of the United States of America. And we all are required by federal law to fill these out. And I said, and I'd ask her some questions. I said, just please try to answer them like that. And and she asked me, well, what will happen if I stop the thing now? I said, I'll put a check, a circle, and I'll say they'll send somebody else. And they may be a little bit calmer and stuff like that, because I can be that German authorities in me. It's just in me. And anyway, she said, I said, ma'am, I don't care. I got to fill out the same form. I got to fill out everything you do. I said, look, I hate to ask you personal feminine questions. I don't want to know. I live in the area, and I'm local and stuff. And she goes, what would happen if I refuse to fill it out? I said, they'll send a U.S. Marshal over here and put you in handcuffs and take you before a federal magistrate in Columbia, Tennessee. And you either answer them or you go to jail. And we're talking about federal jail. And she's scared, and she started crying. I said, that's what's going to happen to you, And so I went on down the street looking out, and her husband came in, and he had a sack of McDonald's. I said, "Look, they're bringing me a sack of McDonald's," you know. And he I said, "They really are nice people." And he got out. He was like, you know, like a bulldog, built like a bulldog. And he said, "Would you step out of the car, please?" I said, "Sure." I thought he was going to hit me. I said, "You're going to get the hell beat out of you." And he said he got in my face, and he said, "What right do you have this blankety blank cussing? I'll get the sheriff's department, and I'll come over. They'll come over here and get you." I said, "Let me explain something. I'm federal authority. I've got authority over the sheriff. I'll call him, and you will be taken to jail for obstruction of justice. Do you want to push it?" And he turned around, and walked off. Didn't say another word.
Wow.
You know, so you know, then I got in trouble with somebody. I went to this guy trailer, and I told him who I was. I had my credentials and everything. I said, "I'm Donald Coleman Jr., a United States Census enumerator. I'm here to ask you some questions on the census test taken every 10 years. He didn't hear that.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I meant to pay taxes on this new trailer. And are you from the IRS?" I said, "How the hell did you get IRS out of what I just said?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, I said it again. "I'm a census enumerator for the Bureau of Census in the federal government. I've got to ask you questions every 10 years. We have to do this." And I started asking, I said, "Look, buddy, hey, let's just fill out the questionnaire. Okay? Let's get that done." And he was so nervous. He followed me across the street to the Mexican restaurant, and the Mexicans thought I was immigration. And I went in there, and he said, "Man, I hope you don't tell the IRS." I said, "Let me tell you something. I don't give a damn about the IRS. I was hired by the Census Bureau. We don't care if you pay taxes or not. I suggest to you, you better pay those taxes, because somebody's going to smell it one of these days, and you're going to get nailed."
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, the IRS going to find you and get you. That's how good they are, but I'm not going to tell on you. I just need your questionnaire." So I went in the restaurant, and I told them who I was. That they started talking Mexican like that, and they thought I was immigration. I pointed at that thing. I said, "It's FBI and all that in there." And that guy went screaming out the back door with hands flying. He ran 50 yards in the woods and hid. And so I had to tell my supervisor about it. Well, he eats over there all the time. He said he'll handle it. So I was going around scaring everybody, and I was getting complaints on me. They call him he's forceful, you know, and it's my authoritative tone. I can't help it if I got it, you know. And so my supervisor called me down to Pickwick Exxon. He said, "I'm going to have to terminate your employment. I'm getting too much complaints and forms not getting filled out and like that. And if you don't cause any trouble, I will make sure you get unemployment on the federal part." And he did do that. And so next thing I know, more complaints must have come in. And so I got census audited on me. And it's worse than the IRS audit. So they know everything about me from 2010 because I was a little bit forceful. I said, "Well, why'd you give me federal authority? You made me I had my picture here and everything." I said, "What was that about?" You know, and so I passed it. I made a 78, and there's a bunch of people made 100, and they never would hire them because you're too smart. They'd hire somebody like me thinking they can control me. And you picked the wrong person when you put me in there. So, you know, weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I was going to ask you what happened from there. So that happened in 2006? Or was that 20? You said 2010, right?
That's 2010. 2000.
Okay.
2008, I was going to Scott's house, and this cabin's over at Bruton Branch, and you had to go off 128 to get there. Mm-hmm. It's like from my house to his door is 15 miles by road. And so I saw the biggest, I don't know. It looked like a wolf, and it was standing up. It was standing up. It was kind of near a street light, and it was the biggest thing I ever seen. I hauled ass. I didn't bother looking at it. I hauled ass. I said, "That's a big wolf," you know. And I went over to Scott. He goes, I was like Officer Bill. He goes, "What did you see?" I said, "I wish I hadn't saw it," you know, like that. And that's 2008, 2009. We're up at LBL. We were one of the, yeah, no, wait, let me back up. We went to LBL twice in 2009, and we stayed at, I think we stayed at the motel at Grand Rivers. And the second time, I told Scott, I'm not driving this boat. It's sustained winds at 45 miles an hour and gusts to 60. And when you're doing the river journeys, you have to stay between the green and the red buoys because they got the water winter pool. And we were just, I mean, it was like a hurricane, really. Scott ate some lunch at New Johnsonville, and we're about halfway there. And I had to slow the boat down. Scott fell down the floor, and I had to drive the boat. It took 4 hours to get somewhere. It should take 90 minutes. 4 hours. That's how bad the wind was. And so we gassed up. I said, "Get up out of that floor. You need to gas up." So we gassed up at Great Turtle Bay. And since the wind was blowing that way, it was blowing us that way. So we got there quicker and stuff. And anyway, in that deal, they were testing the alarms on we got there. We were exhausted. We just, we docked the boat. We just walked up to the marina. I mean, to the Lake Barclay Resort Park. And we rented a room and just fell into bed. And all of a sudden, and damn, that alarm's going off. Oh, good God. We ran out the door thinking it was a fire, And I said, "What's up with these alarms?" I said, "Go down there and ask them what's going on." "Oh, we have to change out the alarms." I said, "Can't you do that on a Sunday or Monday?" And now we got to do it today, state law. And we heard that, like that. We couldn't sleep.
An annoying sound. I know exactly what you mean.
I mean, I thought, I'm ready to go home.
Yeah.
And so that was in 2009, and 2010, we took the truck, and I drove it up to. He was going to leave it at Pebble Island Marina at New Johnsonville, and so I went out there. I said, "Give me those binoculars." I went out there, and it was white capping. I said, "Hell no, I'm not getting in that boat and driving to LBL in those kind of waves. So I'm going to take your Honda truck, and I'll meet you there." So Scott drove, and I said, "You love to get the hell beat out of it, have at it." So he drove, and he got there about 5-6 hours later. I just waited in the truck, and I was down at the marina waiting for him. He finally shows up. So he wanted to take the boat out and stuff. So we took the boat out, and up walks this 6'6" game warden, big old guy, or 6'7". He was bigger than I was. And he started sniffing around. He's looking at our tags and stuff on the boat. I said, "Are you looking for something in particular?" He goes, "Where's your fishing gear?" I said, "We don't fish. We sightsee and, take pictures of eagles and see how y'all live up here compared to where we live at Pickwick." Just give him a gentle answer. And he kept looking. I said, "Look, go on in the boat and see what you can find. Because I think you're looking for contraband, and we don't do it like that." And so he didn't find anything. I said, "You find something?" "No." "Cleans and whistle." "Told you so." Like that. He goes, "Is that your boyfriend?" You big son of a bitch. I mean, no, we're second cousins. My mother and his daddy are first cousins. We're cousins. Like that. I said, that made me mad right there.
Yeah.
And so we went on up to the marina, and we took the boat up there with us and stuff. And Scott worked on the boat a little bit, and then we got registered. and we maybe got an hour's rest, just laying in bed, like I'm laying in this one, and so we went into the LBL restaurant, and there was a group of game wardens, highway patrol, highway state police, what they call them, and game wardens. And they were around a table where Scott and I were eating. And Scott goes, I got to make a phone call to my girlfriend. You don't mind moving down? I said, I don't want to listen to that talk. It's almost like baby talk. I want to get away from that. So I sit right behind that big old guy that, thought we were homo brothers or something. Mm-hmm. And so he turned around and looked at me. I said, he's talking to his girlfriend. He needed some privacy. And so when he turned around, they started talking. I leaned in. Back then I could hear real good. I leaned in and I said, they're talking about black bear, black dog, black cow. Now, I would think that black bear would be Bigfoot, black cow would be Dogman, and the other one would be werewolf. And they were using those codes names. Mm-hmm. So I thought, I bet I know what they're talking about. That's if they get a call from the sheriff dispatcher, and there's a black bear or black dog that's causing trouble, they know they're in for a fight if it takes it. So I think they got some bigger guns. I don't know what the kind they got. J.C. Johnson, he carried a Desert Eagle 50 caliber on his leg and stuff like that. I talked to him. He was a good guy. You would really enjoy talking to him. He died in like 2016 or 17.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, he's a good guy. And Britton Sawin died, and my cousin was on his site. I think his name was Richard Deming or something like that. He was on his site, and people called, no, that's me. I said, we're his grandfather and my grandma's brother's sister. So we're going to sound
I've heard those names during my research. I've heard those names be brought up a couple times. So, yeah. Rest their souls.
Yeah, we're just cousins. And he is a bounty hunter, like Dog is, but he don't like to be on camera. And so I think he's moved over there, California, Oregon, Washington, all up in there. It's where he is. I haven't heard from him because I changed my phone number. So, I lost contact with him.
Yeah. So is he still around then?
Who's that? Oh yeah, he's still over in the.
He's still on the West Coast.
West Coast.
Okay.
And so
that was okay. I've read both those names during. I've been doing extensive research on Dogman for the last 6 months myself. Yeah. So, but those names have been brought up in either interviews or during research. So, but yeah.
We sound alike, but it's not me. We sound almost alike, but like I said, his grandfather, my grandmother, brother, sister.
Yeah, that's what you were mentioning.
And my name is Deming. My middle name is Deming.
Yeah, that's why on your Facebook it says Donald Deming. I know it's wasn't a last name, but there we got clarification why your Facebook where the Deming comes from.
Yeah, Deming comes from my great grandfather was sheriff of Chester County. In 1904, my grandmother and her twin was born in the apartment above the jail. Wow. And so he was sheriff of Chester County, chief of police at Bemis, was a little mill town outside of Jackson. He was chief of police of Jackson Police Department. Because back then it was small, back in the teens and 20s. It wasn't that big. And then he was the officer of Supreme Court of West Tennessee and a state legislator. And my grandmother said he could be governor of Tennessee. And I said, well, how did he get all that? He kept his mouth shut. Mm-hmm. So back in those days, keep your mouth shut, you'll learn a lot.
Yeah, that's for sure. Talk less, listen more.
Yeah, you'll learn a lot. So,
good old
because that's where I got the law enforcement. It's in my bloodline. And the name Deming means judgment.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I looked it up online. Deming means judgment. And my great grandfather is Adolf Schaefer out of Hamburg, Germany.
Oh
That's where
wow,
they
my
originated.
mom's from Germany.
Munich and Hamburg.
Oh, okay, see, my mom was born in
Yeah.
Germany back in '66, and then her
Yeah.
dad was born during the war, I believe, maybe a little earlier. But then, yeah, it was crazy, man. My mom moved over here when she was about 5 or 6, maybe a little bit less.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But she lived in a little
Yeah.
village called, I might be butchering it. I think it's called Bod Pupil. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's how to pronounce it. Sorry, mom, if I'm butchered that. But I wanted to get back to that the Dogman encounter from 2010. You had mentioned it earlier. When was the next one after that? Did you go through a time frame of like a few
No,
year gap?
I was actually, I had walked to the road for exercise. I got heart and lung issues. So I walked the road out there, the main, the LBL trace, we call it, goes from Grand Rivers to Dover, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And I'd walked out there, I had my Walkman headphones, listen to music like that, walked around. I was going to walk across the road. Man, my sixth sense kicked into high gear. Don't
What year
go
was
there.
that, Rusty? Was that 2010?
Where was it? That was in 2010.
Oh,
And
okay.
I don't remember let's see.
I'm just writing down some questions and answers and notes. So I'm just trying to piece all of them
I'm
together.
thinking that was in the winter of 2010 because there were no trees. The leaves weren't on the trees. We
Okay,
always
so it was
go
winter.
boating in the winter time.
Okay.
And so anyway, I was up there and it was like my sixth sense kicked in, don't go there.
Uh-huh.
Later that year, they had a dogman attack a van right where I was standing.
Wow.
Yeah. Lady was either pulling in or going out, probably going out. The restaurant's really got good food at Lake Barclay State Resort Park, really good food. You like it.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, a lady was going out and a big old dogman attacked her right there where I was standing. See, I told you I had that sixth sense not to go across the road into LBL.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, you got to follow your sixth sense. And one time I don't remember what year it was, and we'd go all over the place. We were coming, I think we went out to Kimmswick, Missouri, and stayed, and we were always getting all kind of stuff. So I'll get to that later, but it was 2000, and we were coming back. Scott and I were traveling 2000. We went up. Paducah is right on the river, the Ohio River, but they had this old sloppy hillbilly gas stock, and we went up there, and the gas said $2 a gallon. I said, "Hell no, Scott. Let's take the boat out and go to the gas. $2 a gallon? Are you crazy?
We'd be killing for $2 right now. We're spending $6.50
I
over
wish
here.
it was $2. Yeah." And so, we locked through, and Scott got caught up on one of our journeys. I've been to go up there several times, and Scott got caught up in the lock, and they had like 4 or 5 tugboats wanting to get there. So Scott Scott was calling Kentucky. He wasn't calling Kentucky Lock. He was calling Kentucky Dam. Kentucky Dam. I said, "Have you lost your mind? It's Kentucky Lock. You're not going. You can't go through a dam. It's a lock. What's wrong with you?" I'll smack him in the head. What's wrong with you? And so anyway, it's one towboat captain. Well, there's a guy he's calling. I think he wants to lock through, and I told him, I said, I got on. This is the old green boat wanting to lock through Kentucky Lock. We've been down here for like 45 minutes. We realized that towboats get first choice, and we just need to get in. So I got us in, And so I said, "Scott, you're brain dead. What's wrong with you?" And so we got in, and it was done. When you're there, in between Kentucky Dam and we went to Grand Rivers to sleep. I said, "Let's just go to Grand Rivers to sleep." And I said, "Don't park at Green Turtle Bay. I ain't walking there. There's a little lighthouse marina there. We'll just park in there and walk to the deal." And that lady's been there a long time and knows a lot of stuff, but I never asked her about LBL. And I was there. I was going to walk. Now listen to this. I was going to walk over the canal bridge into LBL, kind of look around. And I got up that canal bridge, and it says, "You're crazy as hell if you go walk across this bridge."
To the north side,
mean,
right?
Yeah, and so and Kumbo said in one of his stories, his wife started getting just her 6 inch kicked into high gear, and she was, I don't care what you do, get the hell out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And Kumbo was driving right in it like, are you insane? And Kumbo knows about booger. Now he's an expert on boogers. And they were in with Jim Bear King, but Jim Bear King would interrupt him all the time. I think they just finally split ways. But Kumbo is highly intelligent, and he is a researcher.
Oh, no, I listened to an interview that he did on.
I would put him up
another
there as number
channel
one.
A couple of weeks ago, or I think a week ago. He was on one of the other cryptid pages. I saw his interview. Someone can't remember who was interviewing him, but it was actually a pretty good interview. I think it was. Yeah, I can't think about the name, but yeah, continue. I'm sorry.
Scott he's great. I went to visit his aunt that was in a nursing home in Waverly, and it was we camp and we're all over the place. So I looked at that. It was a portrait, and Scott said, "That's my granddaddy." Well, I said, "Who's that little black lady over in the corner over there? So, black is cold." I said, "Well, she looks Apache." And Scott goes, "That's my great grandmother." I said, "That's where the Apache," because his daddy started leaving Pickwick, and Scott and I started coming up the cabin, and he would go all through the Indian nations and do all that research because his grandmother was full-blood Apache, and so that make him like 50% Apache, and Scott 25% Apache. And so now I'm thinking this: Scott has logged thousands and thousands of miles. I mean, he went from his house to Pittsburgh Two River Stadium on the Ohio River, and there's bad cryptid stuff on the Ohio River up there, and he never seen anything. And I said, "Scott, you need to get a gun to protect yourself." He never would do that. I said, "Get a learner's permit and go protect yourself."
Mm-hmm.
And he wouldn't do that. And so I guess somehow that Native American bloodline may be protecting him.
That's what I was just going to ask you that. I've read this multiple times when people, seems like that people that are native or have native bloodline either have a higher chance of encountering these things or they're more protected. That's just a theory. I don't know. But I keep going around the Native American, either bloodline or culture. They see these things more on a daily than I guess you could say your typical average person.
They know their heritage. They were here first. Remember, the Indians were here first before Columbus came.
Mm-hmm.
They were here. A lot of stuff was here first. They said that even some Egyptian stuff found in caves. So
wow, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I heard that. Of course, we know bits and pieces of the truth.
Oh,
I think we would be blown away if we know the full truth.
I don't think they try to limit us,
Our government and our education system is bogus.
I agree.
Bogus.
They teach you what they want you to know.
The Indians taught the pilgrims about Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the pilgrims, it was the Indians.
Oh, I know. They pretty much saved them in that, 1620, that first winter. They pretty much, if not that whole, the pilgrims would have been wiped out because it was too brutal of a winter.
Yeah. So, I think the Indians, and it was Andrew Jackson, the bastard from Tennessee that he used the Indians in that war, and he turned around and turned on them and did the Trail of Tears and got them out of the South.
Yeah.
I think that is why the South is cursed. Look at the industry and the buildings up in North, and we're like just nothing really.
Yeah, I mean, to go back to history on that, I believe that after he did the Order of the Trail of Tears, a lot of things happened. I mean, he was pushing the Seminoles out of Florida, Apache, everybody. I mean, whatever, to Oklahoma, whatever tribe it was sad. I mean, it's a sad part in history, but I wanted to ask you a question about that. So when you and Scott were up in Paducah near the Ohio River back in 2000, did you guys have any Dogman encounters? up there, or did you see anything cryptid related? Or
I'm sure your friend Dave from Texas would have called them on that camera.
oh, I
See,
guarantee you, David's got an eye for it.
we just had these little instant cameras and take a shot of the bird because we didn't want to be in a boating accident and lose a $400 camera. So
Yeah, no,
we
I
just
totally
use little
understand.
instant cameras and stuff like that. But let's see. No, we didn't see anything. Scott has never seen anything with me. It's just me by myself. And I'm thinking being that double genetic code is the reason.
Well,
Because
okay,
I
that
had
makes
a,
sense. Okay.
all right, I had everything that's wrong with me is female related.
Mm,
Everything that's wrong with me is female, except the thyroid. That's female and stuff. And so I went to I was going to Dr. The doctor in Pickwick, I can't think of her name. Anyway, she said, well, they call me Rusty down here because my dad was Donald Sr. So I went by my own name. Being I was redheaded, I'm not now. But she said, Rusty, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but and I had to scooch down, and that thing's like 6'3". I had to scooch down because I was too tall for it. And it goes around your head and x-rays your mouth. She said the end of your mouth is shaped like a female. I said, no wonder I got in trouble in school.
There you go.
Yeah, no wonder I got in trouble. I couldn't contain my mouth. But anyway, she goes, I said, no, that's confirmation, and so the difference between Klinefelter 47XXY and 48XXYY, the variant, which means it's related.
Mhm.
I got brain seizures and I've got morbid obesity. That's the two difference in 48 and 47. And morbid obesity I should be 175 and not 292.
Nothing wrong with that right now, though. But Rusty, I wanted to ask you though, not to stop that right there. We're almost hitting the 2-hour mark. Did you want to put this on pause and come back on in the next day or two, or maybe even Friday night and finish up?
That's fine. That's fine.
Do you want to do that, or because I know it's already it's 8 o'clock here, and I mean, unfortunately, I work out in the oil field, so I have to be up at 3 to 4 a.m.
Okay, that's fine. We'll cut it. We'll go to part 2.
Yeah, let's do a part 2. So we're going to stop at 2010, and then we'll catch up to current 2022. Okay. Let me see if anyone had any questions. David just said on the show, all my problems are female related too. Good old David.
I'll start a new group.
What is that?
The weirdos.
The weirdos. Shoot.
Yeah.
Well, Rusty, did you have anything you want to say before we end tonight? Like I said,
I want to thank you for having me on. Thank you for having me on. It's an honor and a privilege to be on your show. And I look forward to the next time.
Okay. Yeah. I appreciate you coming on, brother. It's been an honor. But let's shoot for Friday, and we'll finish from 2010 to 2022.
I'll be fine.
All right, brother. Well, thank you again so much, and we'll talk to you on Friday.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you. You have a good one.
Same to you.
All right. Bye.